What's up, everybody? It is Monday night, November 30th, the last day of November. This is Breakfast Soup Raw. I want to wish everybody a happy belated Thanksgiving. Hopefully your Thanksgiving was great. Hopefully you enjoyed it however you wanted to. Hopefully your Black Friday was good, your Cyber Monday, and hopefully this episode will be good. So I am Don Tony. Join along with me is... And I don't hear a word out of your mouth. You are muted.
Maybe I should unmute myself.
There you go. There you go. You know what it is?
Man. Anthony Missionary Thomas, how's it going, everyone?
Nah, pretty good, pretty good.
Friggin' Turkey Day yourself there, DT. Anything fun, anything special on the menu?
Oh, I went to Connecticut, stood there for 4.5 days. Without getting into the whole long story that I know some of people are a little sick of hearing, it was 1 year ago yesterday that I got engaged. And in 2020, I was supposed to have my engagement party. We were all supposed to go to Orlando and celebrate in Orlando. Andrew 914 was actually going to set it up that I was going to manage a certain tag team that has been featured in NXT as a little bit of a gift. Didn't work out, unfortunately. I was supposed to have my parents meet her parents. Nothing happened because of COVID. So what I did was I took her, since I wasn't going to see my family, wasn't going to take any chances with my father having pneumonia. They pretty much were going to stay in bed. So we went for 4.5 days. Last night I proposed again. Didn't set up like last year, but I still proposed again. So it feels like a year didn't get wasted. And that's pretty much it. Now, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Physically, I am here, but mentally, I'm just still on vacation. I came home last night. I was supposed to come home today, but we heard that the weather today was going to be horrible in New York, and I do not like driving in the rain. That's what almost crippled me in '96. So we decided to leave late last night. Got in late last night. Didn't get much of a sleep. Got to work this morning. Customers already annoying me. Came home for lunch. Did the Q&A, which is on YouTube right now for everyone. Watched Raw, and we are here. So I got to get myself a good night's sleep. I have not got one in 5 days, but I cannot complain. We had a great time. We kept our distance. And for the people who sent me derogatory emails and DMs, and I understand why people do that way, because they
on Thanksgiving.
Oh, I got
what kind of ingrate, what kind of imbeciles sending you hate mail on Thanksgiving? Come on now.
Honestly, over the last 6 days, I've gotten a lot of Thanksgiving wishes. Absolutely.
I was gonna say, like,
no. Everybody
kind of relaxing, like we're kind of sliding into the holidays. I don't know about by you, but I can honestly say I'm a little surprised at Chicagoland right now, because I was expecting it to be dull and dreary like Halloween was, where nobody had anything set up. But man, I swear, as soon as Thanksgiving rolled around, it seemed like everybody just lit up their houses. There's tons of Christmas decorations and ornaments everywhere, like more than usual. And I think that's because a lot of people have had kind of a rough year. And so I think people are going to try and make Christmas a little more special, a little bit more merry, if you will. So it's kind of weird to hear that you got people in the middle of all this crap that are taking the time out of their day to drag you down.
I really wasn't on social media the last 4.5 days. I posted one time. And I'm so glad that I took that break. I'm not kidding. I almost deleted my Twitter account or took it offline today.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry, man.
I'm not kidding. No, not because of that. I mean, I could handle DMs and emails and nasty stuff. I understand a lot of people did that privately because they know that the Donzilla Army, the soup nuts out there, we have a big family. Everybody out there, shout out to all of you, big family. And if they write that publicly, they know there's going to be a shitload of people that are going to go after them and say, and so they do it privately. So the only person who can see it is me. But, the one thing I kept getting hit over and over again, COVID is at record highs with 265 people 100,000 people dead. There's record numbers of people getting sick. And me with a clear head, I go away for 5 days. And my response every time was I was paying tribute to The Undertaker. And some people didn't respond. Some people wrote back and said, what the hell does that mean? And, you know, I love Mick Foley to death. I like Kevin Nash. I like a few others. But how dare they? How dare they go to Florida, hang out with The Undertaker, hug, kiss, some go to a sports bar the night before, and then enjoy themselves and pay tribute to one of their biggest members of their family, which I am totally in favor of. But tell me what is different with that than going out with your fiance to dinner, going with your family with Thanksgiving. You know, oh, well, no, but The Undertaker, it's a 30-year career. He's a legend. Well, so is my mother. She's a legend too. My relationship is important to me. Yeah, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, getting engaged is a once-in-a-lifetime. Well, for me, it's a 2 times. My point is, I understand we watched it, but The Undertaker tribute was not for entertainment purposes only. It was really the closure of the chapter of The Undertaker's book that's been written for 30 years. So if you have a clear head to fly from Long Island or other areas of the country to Florida, land, go to a hotel, go to a sports bar, go to a restaurant, eat your but it's my close friends. Yeah, so, and that's my close friend. There's nothing different to it. The only difference was some of that was filmed.
The narrative. Yeah. The narrative is different. Because the people involved, I mean, you're already comparing it, you know, going down to Florida, but the names that you dropped, obviously more people are going to recognize Kevin Nash and Mick Foley than they're going to recognize Anthony de Blasio's mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying I loved all of the tributes, all his friends showing up. I thought it was wonderful. I'm not knocking them, but how dare you 4 days before Thanksgiving, travel with a clear head, you do what you do, and then you tell people 24 hours later, don't do what I just did? I thought that was a lot of nerve. So when people started really throwing that out.
Do as I say and not as I do?
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. You know, plus you see the governor, Gavin Newsom of California, going out with, no, but it's just business. Well, yeah, so then I could go to a business lunch also. You know, Cuomo and all that, they just do as I say, not as I do. And like you said, with people putting Christmas decorations up and lights and everything, the vaccine is coming out in 2 weeks. And we have 2 companies now. Every company that gets approved for emergency relief, that's another 10, 20 million doses going out. And you know there's going to be a ton of people that are not going to get it. I am going to be one of the first getting it. I found out from my doctor that I have various morbidities, the gallbladder removed, the diverticulitis surgery, still being overweight. So I have a couple of conditions that, you know, I qualify. Now, you know, if it's me or an 80-year-old, you know, and and it comes down to 1 dose, if that 80-year-old is a family member of mine, I'm going to say you take it first. But if it's Vinny Goomba from 3 blocks away and I don't know him, fuck you. I'm getting the vaccine, you know? So a lot of people realize a month from now, 2 months from now, a lot of this is going to start going away because you get vaccinated, you know. But again, I went away, I kept the mask on, washed my hands, didn't get in anybody's face, didn't rub my eyes. It's not that hard. I mean, you see all these football players that caught the virus over the last week. A couple of them admitted that for a very brief time, they didn't have the mask. And boom, they got it. You know, so it comes down to individual responsibility. If I live in a horrible part of Chicago, where I think there was 37 shootings over the weekend. If I live in a horrendous part of Chicago, in a horrendous part of Brooklyn, horrendous part of the Bronx, if I live where Escape from New York was, you know, and I decide, you know what, 2 o'clock in the morning, I feel like having White Castle. I'm going to take the drive and go, you know, I'm putting myself at risk. with a bad neighborhood. If I don't feel well and it's 10 degrees out and I just got out of the shower and I didn't dry my hair and I want to go down to the corner store to get a 40, I'm putting my health at risk. So it's individual responsibility. I care about others. I don't want to get anybody else sick, but I honestly feel I have done an amazing job since February to never stop working. In fact, working more and not getting sick. It's not that hard to prevent it. It's just that some people feel it's an invasion of rights. It's invasion of this.
Well, let's also look at the news reports. Pretty much, I think it was from Thursday up this entire weekend, there were more people flying these last 2 to 3 days than there have been all year.
Yeah.
So despite all the warnings, despite all the WHO and the CDC, despite everything that was going on in local governments, despite radio and TV telling everybody to stay the fuck at home, everybody ignored that advice apparently and just went wherever the heck that they wanted to. Look, my girlfriend's parents went to the Florida Keys. They weren't supposed to go. They weren't supposed to take a vacation, but they've had an entire year where they've been stuck inside the house. They've been working from home. And Thanksgiving is usually when they go meet the rest of their family, which makes sense. But instead of following the orders of all of these trained professionals that have been talking about this, they decided to go anyways. They decided to risk it because to them that risk was worth the reward.
What happened?
I mean, that's not just one person's opinion. We're talking millions of people were on flights this weekend.
Yeah.
Well,
you see what happened to Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and a lot of others. I endorse all the protests that went on, peaceful protests. I mean, I said for a while now, it blows me away in 2020 that every police officer is not required to wear a body cam. That would eliminate, some cops are going to still do what they do. But my point is, when all these medical professionals, governors and mayors didn't force the mask mandate on protesters, because they didn't want to be ganged up by the thousands, but then you tell me I can't do this, and then they're out dining and going out and this and that. So, protests, it's okay. If I'm an official, it's okay. If I'm a celebrity with a blue check mark, it's okay. But everyone else, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. Every time they do that, I want to go against them more. It's like when I was a kid, I told you. When I was a kid, there'd be a cookie jar. No bullshit. There'd be a cookie jar on the dining room table. And I walked past that cookie jar playing Atari, doing homework, playing pinball, whatever, hanging out with my friends. I passed the cookie jar, never look at it. The minute my mother says to me, don't touch the cookie jar, I go in and take a cookie.
Sure.
So don't tell me, it's individual responsibility. I never brought this out publicly. My brother's daughter caught COVID a month ago. All right. And we don't know if she caused my brother to get sick or my father to get sick. The doctor told my father's been tested twice over the last 8 days, and it's been negative both times. But I've been trying to get my brother and my father to go get the antibody test done, because maybe they actually caught this a month ago and didn't get it treated. And because my father is older and he's got some issues, that this prolonged them. And because my brother can't take off from work because he runs a store, but he didn't get anybody else sick. The point is that, when my brother's brought up his daughters really, really strict. And, what we're starting to find out now is, even though my brother instilled in their brain, always wear a mask. I don't care if you're with your boyfriend, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear this. And you know how kids are. They see 99.9% cure rate. Oh, even if I get it, when am I going to get a little cough? And they think they're being careful and they're not. And my brother's kid got it. So, I personally think, honestly, I think some of you will relate to me when I say this. I think the reason why my brother and my father won't get the antibody test done is because they don't want to find out that my niece could have possibly got them sick. How would you feel? How would any of you feel out there if it ended up that you were a little bit irresponsible and you caught it and you end up giving it to family members? you know, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night thinking that I infected my family. So, you know, am I going to see them tomorrow? Absolutely. But I am going to keep extra distance. I'm going to wear a mask whenever I'm around my mom and my dad. And then once I see them for a little bit, I go downstairs, do my work, do the Patron show tomorrow, and I stay away from them.
Yeah, no, for sure. But you got to realize it's everywhere, though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people should be unsafe about things, but it's to the point where you can't really make it political, but you need to be aware of all the actual ramifications of doing what you do. You know, nobody's taking it lightly, or they shouldn't be taking it lightly. And if they are, they're kind of a moron. But you should be out there. You should be able to, you know, do what you need to do as opposed to want to do, you know, in the privacy and the comfort of your own world. You know, it's this whole premise that, you know, if you do something that everybody else is doing, but it's you're going to get shit on for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation that you're at right now, with people actually coming after you about this, and it's goofy. It's like, you're not the world's role model, DT.
I mean, look at the Spider-Man movie. I don't blame them, but our schools are closed right now, even though there's all the scientific proof that it's not a high risk to be infected in the school. In fact, 2 schools in my neighborhood have had 0 positive tests come out of the school. And because the school is not occupied right now, Spider-Man is actually filming, I think it's Spider-Man, they're filming a scene in an empty school. And the parents all livid. They're like, wait a minute, so my kid can't go to that school, but Spider-Man can film a movie there? I mean, it's just what it comes down to. I'm not telling people to defy authority. All I'm saying is that, especially after 8 months, these politicians financially are set for life. These blue check marks, athletes, entertainers, movie people, whoever, they're set for the foreseeable future financially. They have their entourage that could do all their shit for them. All of us, and especially, you know, people that have small business, people who are unemployed, we're the ones that they're talking down at us. Understand this. And we'll get to wrestling in a second, but understand this, everybody, and I really mean this. Whether it's your favorite actor, your favorite actress, musician, politician, sports athlete, wrestler, whoever it is, they believe that they are higher than us. So when they tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, they're not looking at you eye to eye saying that. They're looking down on you saying that. Yeah. Because they don't do as they say. You look at all of these TMZ photos for the last 8 months, you see people walking around, 3/4 of the time, they have no mask on. Because if they had the mask on, how would you know some of these actors? Seriously, if I have a thing on and I got a mask over half my face, I'm sorry, it's a thing, but I'm like this and I'm moving around. I mean, how do you know it's me? You know, 3/4 of your face is covered. All these celebrities would not be able to be spotted on the street. So anyway, Joe Punches, shout out to you. Here in the middle of Kansas, 3 out of 10 employees who he manages at a furniture store are all positive for COVID. And 1 is on a ventilator. He passed the test twice. And, you know, that's a good point. He worked around people who got it, and he didn't get it because he took the precautions. You take it seriously. I have, like I said, even in this room, don't ask me why, I don't know where I put it right now, but I have sanitizer in here, and I have Lysol, and I find myself spraying my house once in a while, and I'm saying, I'm the only one in here. You know, what am I going to do? You know, is a fly going to come in here and infect me? So, you know, everyone out there is smart enough to be careful. We live in a free country where we have the right, like I said, we have the right to do stupid shit. I know it's disrespectful, but when you get behind a wheel and you're pissed drunk, you're putting a whole bunch of other lives at risk. That's just as bad as going out without a mask, if not worse. But yet, they don't stop everybody from driving. You know, this is a pandemic. And I personally feel that everybody should wear a mask. You know, even though, you know, people want to use, invading my rights and everything like that, you know, if everybody would just follow that, this virus would be a lot more under control. Plain and simple. You know, if I know like in wrestling, two people are going to fight for the title. You can't put your hands on each other. I know that if I could just hold out and just follow the guidelines, I get my title shot at the next pay-per-view. But if I put my hand on the other person before the pay-per-view in storyline, I lose my title shot. So we're so close to the beginning of the end of this. This is the time where everybody should be a little bit more careful and not take it for granted. And that's how I look at it. I live my life. I was not going to let this virus eat me up and spit me out and then, have to sit on Twitter and whine for 9 months. Do you have cheese with that wine? But good for you, Joe. Your responsibility. Shout out to Cleric of Chaos. I put up the link for everybody. I know some of you already checked it out. Very talented performer. Just completed his Christmas album. And I will definitely send you my address. So I did see it. I'm going to get in touch with everybody on Patreon as well. We got some prizes to give away from last week's Survivor Series. So tomorrow I will definitely get in touch with everyone. But congrats, my friend. I'm glad that album came out, seriously. And Crazy Cruiserweight, yeah, that's one of the topics we're going to talk about tonight. I don't have the quarter-hour numbers yet, but NXT defeated AEW in the ratings again. And, last year, same excuse. And our thoughts on the fact that NXT beat AEW. Now, they just edged them out. AEW only scored.
It wasn't a slaughter or nothing. It was
no. NXT, I think, did 7-12. AEW did 7-10. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I see these websites have to write, but AEW won the important demo or won every demo except for 50, you're making an excuse. Plain and simple. I don't care if it's somebody I like, a website or a journalist or a podcaster I like. The numbers, plain and simple. This beat that. And when you have to add that extra sentence, but they won every demo, that just shows that your ass by Desitin, because your ass is red and rashed and you feel like somebody just stuck a plunger in it, because you have to make every excuse whatsoever. Sometimes you admit your defeat. And when people do that, that just shows bias. To me, there's no excuse. Look, I could win an important demo also. But if my ratings suck and everything else sucks, winning an important demo doesn't mean squat if the total number of people watching my show has gone down 20% in recent time. 710,000 viewers, and we don't have the quarter hours yet. I should have them by Wednesday. If I don't have it by Wednesday, I'll do it Friday with this week's numbers as well. But especially a week before Omega and Moxley, after the Inner Circle stuff, hyping up some of the things that they hyped. I said it last Wednesday. I have nothing against the Butcher and the Blade and Ray Phoenix, but you have that close out that show. It did not feel like a very strong card. Now, they don't want to be WCW and put pay-per-view, matches on week after week after week. But I tell you, when people say, well, it was the day before Thanksgiving, motherfucker, we're still in COVID. A ton of people didn't do nothing for Thanksgiving. They stood home. What, AEW fans traveled? What does that mean? So what are your thoughts on
that? All the people that would actually be watching their show was traveling to Florida to have a good time. It's just an excuse is all it is. And the people that are trying to fit this narrative that AEW should have won, they absolutely should have won, because if it was any other week but the week that everybody was on vacation, AEW would have clearly won. And it's like, so what? Do you know what I mean? I'm at the opinion and the point of, so what? What does that mean? You lost a week. Big deal. come out and do something special next week and get those people back. Why does it have to be an excuse? Why do you have to sit there and break it down like, but there's a reason we lost. There's a reason that we didn't get those 2,000 other people. 2,000 other people, DT. We're not talking 20. We're not talking 200,000. We're talking 2,000 viewers.
No one makes me laugh. No one makes me laugh.
Just take the damn knee, will ya?
What makes me laugh is the day before Thanksgiving, more people watched NXT this past Wednesday than the week before. So what are you saying? That people 50 and over just decide or too lazy to go away on vacation? That they just stood home, but all the young people went on vacation? What does that mean? I mean, I'm sorry. I follow the AEW Twitter. I follow a lot of people that wrestle for AEW. I do the social media searches. I see what everybody's talking about. And I tell you, I invite anybody to go see for yourself. Just type in AEW Thanksgiving and do an advanced Twitter search and search between last Thursday and this past Thursday. All right? The week before Thanksgiving up until Thursday, Thanksgiving. And just search vacation, travel, words like that. You will not see lots of people like, hey, I really want to watch AEW next week, but I'm going away Wednesday night at the same time, and I'm not going to be able to see it. That's not visible on social media at all. Nowhere.
I thought DVR numbers counted still too, didn't it? When did DVR numbers stop counting?
No, well, it's Nielsen. It's Nielsen boxes. I mean, they have ways of checking it, but it's really never factored in. Put it this way. They tried to do that.
That they have to pad it when they lose. Yeah. Somebody else brought it up in the chat room, like, how many times has WWE won this year? A handful of times, right?
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, NXT has won a handful of times, but for the most part, throughout the year, AEW has been dominant. So why are the people that are diehard pro AEW, why are their egos so fragile that they have to make up excuses for 1 week that they lost? And they didn't even lose by a lot. They lost by 2,000 people. Why are the egos so fragile of a company that seemingly is doing well enough? Sure, they're not hitting 1 million. We understand that. But at the same time, they're doing well enough. And I just don't understand why they need this ego padding. Why do they need to reassure the people that follow AEW? We didn't really lose, guys. It's okay. You can still keep watching us.
You see,
we really didn't lose.
You see,
I don't get that. I don't get that mentality, because even when it was WCW versus WWE back in the day, I didn't have that feeling. I don't know about you.
No, I never had that feeling.
Like, oh, well, Jesus Christ. Well, WCW wanted the ratings. Well, guess I'll never watch WWE again. Like, why do they pretend that that's a thing? I just don't understand where their mentality is at, because it doesn't even make sense as far as wrestling wars go. I mean, if you want to talk about the TNA WWE Monday Night War, which was hilarious, or if you want to talk about even WCW and WWE, nobody quit watching wrestling because there was 2 companies on at the same time. Nobody did. And here we are at the Wednesday Night Wars, for whatever that's worth, but they didn't lose by a lot. So why do they need to sit there and reassure all of their listeners and followers and subscribers that, don't worry, we didn't really lose. Next week we'll get them again. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, do they think that, are the people that follow AEW so vapid and so weak-minded that if they lose 1 week, they'll no longer watch AEW again? Has there been some kind of formula or study on this, which is why these guys go above and beyond?
I don't get it with some people. I don't get it with some people. See, like in baseball, you'll have teams that'll lose a lot of one-run games. But at the end of the year, if you had 90 losses, analysts could break it down and say, yeah, but we lost a lot by 1 run, and there were a lot of games where we didn't score, more than 2 runs a game, and this and that. But the point is, the only people that should be breaking down demographics like this are executives for AEW. people in the business. And when you see regular websites and podcasters, making excuses, but they did this demo and they did that demo, you're really trying to find that. That's like me gaining 10 pounds. And I say, yeah, but I drank a lot of water today. To use that is like trying to make an excuse about just trying to get away from the fact that I gained 10 pounds. No, but I drank a lot of water. I had a salty dinner. No, I gained 10 pounds, plain and simple. And this looks bush league to those people. And look, there's nothing that we say that's going to change them.
The severity of the way that their supporters react makes the entire company look unprofessional. It really does. Because their strongest voices are people that are scrambling around like rats in a maze, looking for any type of excuse to validate why they weren't at their best this week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, well, you know what? More people apparently enjoyed NXT this week. Next week we got such and such versus such and such, and we're going to do this and that. They don't react like that, TT.
Yeah.
That's how normal people would react.
Yeah.
They'd say, okay, well, next week we've got such and such. And they would push the next week so they could make more viewers, so that they could entice more people. But they react, these AEW sites, these podcasters or whatever, they react like it's almost the end of the world. It is just absolutely
what blows me away is how often do you all hear them break down all the demos on Raw and SmackDown? When you see them report the rating, they might report one demo out of all of them, but you don't see them for the most part. Many times you'll see the hour 1, hour 2, and hour 3, what it was last week and what it was a year ago. And you don't see them focus on demos. I don't know other entertainment shows and sports, baseball, football, basketball, that losing the ratings.
No.
And the teams and the journalists write, yeah, but they won the 18-24 demo. I don't know I understand Zap to it and entertainment outlets do it, but I don't see journalists for the Knicks or I only see these goofs making these excuses. And Cruiserweight brings up last year on the day before Thanksgiving, there was 1,473,000 people watching wrestling on a Wednesday night. 1,473,000. This year it was 1,423,000. So it was 422. So it was 40,000 less viewers than a year ago. You look at that and you say, you know what? That's not bad. A year ago there was no COVID. It was just about to start. So the fact that they only had 40,000 less viewers this past week compared to a year ago is pretty damn impressive. But you see the split that this year we had 50,000 more people tune into NXT and we had 100,000 more people tune out of AEW. It's excuses, man. It's excuses. It is excuses, and it's ridiculous. I can't wait to get the quarter-hour ratings because it's going to tell the story. AEW is going to be right around this all night long. I could see it already. It's going to be like this all night long. And NXT, you're probably going to see like this. We're going to see one match pop a decent big number. Then we're going to see, maybe the main event pop a little bit of a decent number, and in between it's going to be Shangada. So they put it this way. This week with Moxley and Omega, biggest match of the year for Dynamite. If they don't pop 900,000 viewers, and God forbid they go under 850, what excuse do you give this week? So this is why I say, and we'll move on, everybody, but this is why I say this. And tonight's Raw was pretty lackluster. I think we could all agree on that. We're not going to try to take it and turn it into this wonderful, it was just a ball of mess, which we'll talk about in a minute.
It's not one side versus the other. It's calling both down the middle. Hey, if both shows have a bad show, it's okay to say WWE and AEW have both had bad shows this week. Doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. My feelings aren't hurt. Are your feelings hurt?
I don't know. Look at that super chat. Are your feelings hurt? No, he's giving you a compliment. I've always said it. Your voice is awesome for commercials.
Thank you.
I could picture you doing commercials for mouthwash, for cars, for movies coming up. My God. I mean, you got to get yourself a little portfolio together and get your voice on commercial. If John Cena could sell Nissans, I mean, John Cena sells elephant nuts. I mean, there's a commercial for peanuts. I mean, I don't know any kids out there like, Mommy, I want peanuts because I hear John Cena's voice. Oh, fuck,
Sure.
how does he get all these spots? You got that deep, impressive voice.
He's got a famous voice, and people don't have to see him. So, walk a walk.
You know what? You actually would be a great voice, and I'm not kidding you, to hype up Impact Wrestling's pay-per-views. Because that gentleman, I can't remember his name right now, he passed away earlier this year. We paid a nice tribute to him. Yeah. But, yeah, you do have a great sports voice, for real.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Much love.
Yeah. But, just one thing I want to say in closing about these ratings, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that you put an unnecessary extra pressure on AEW. Because instead of just saying, okay, they won this week and you let it go, now you put so much pressure that if the ratings is not impressive this week, with that match being hyped up the way it is, now you got to come up with another excuse. And then if another week, now you got to come up with another excuse. And what does Christmas land this year? Christmas lands, let me see, Christmas lands on a Friday. So what are you going to say? Oh, no, AEW this year was a day before Christmas Eve, so everybody was out buying last-minute gifts. You put unnecessary seriously, they put extra pressure on that promotion, and they don't even realize it. Instead of just saying, look, fans just felt that NXT was a better product, even though just by a drop. But what's the excuse? I mean, if you think about it, the only excuse you could give of NXT going up 60, 70,000 viewers is, 50-year-olds just didn't want to go out for Thanksgiving. That's really, I mean, what else could you say? I mean, if you think about it. So anyway, everyone, we got to talk about something else, and then we'll talk about Raw. First off, let me say this too. I watched the Mike Tyson fight last night. Did you see the Mike Tyson fight?
No. I didn't pay for it.
All right.
It was like $70, $60.
Yeah, I saw it for free online. I'll be honest with you. For nostalgia purposes, if you were a huge Mike Tyson fan, I totally understand why people would pay for it. Like I said, I wasn't on Twitter. I only posted once from Thursday until this morning. And I went on social media last night, to repost, my tweet from a year ago when I was going to propose and everything. But I looked around to see feedback of the Mike Tyson fight, and same usual suspects. Old men, over 50, this and that, it's garbage, it's insult. And I'm like, man, if you don't fucking like it, just turn the goddamn channel. I hate it. I watched it. I liked it. I didn't like the draw because that tells me that they're just baiting people in for a rematch down the line that'll get even bigger numbers because they'll wait until COVID is gone. For me, this is like Mike Tyson closing a book. All right? Undertaker is 55 fucking years old. No, that's sports entertainment. That's a lot different than boxing. No, it comes down to is somebody that I absolutely loved watching in my childhood, in my teens, and my 20s, fucked up his life, was accused of rape, was crazy, bit somebody's ear off, do interviews, and I want to fuck your mother and this and that. I mean, I want to eat your children. Mike Tyson just like scared. He was just a nut job, and you expected absolute tragedy in the end of that book. And then he did a movie and was funny and did comedy
too.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the documentary?
Yeah, I saw some of it. You know, and the point is that after all of these years, because one thing for anybody out there that was a Tyson fan back in the day, you will agree with me when I say this, that if Tyson would not have had so many personal issues back then, he could have ended up being the greatest boxer, if not of all time, of our generation, only second to maybe Muhammad Ali, and or if you want to put Joe Louis in there, but he had just how, I mean, Buster Douglas, he didn't take seriously. He didn't take Buster Douglas seriously, but if he didn't get sidetracked and derailed, he could have had one of the greatest careers in the history of boxing. So to see this guy after all these years make a comeback, take it seriously, take it very seriously, and not embarrass himself, you know, I mean, when I saw people criticize, I'm like, man, seriously, fuck you all. You know, some people out there, if you don't like Tyson, or if you think he's too old, or if you did, then shut the fuck up and let the people that do like it, let them enjoy it. Because I guarantee you, for some of you out there, and I'm sorry for some of you out there that are watching us that are probably guilty of that, I guarantee you that there's probably baseball players, basketball players, actors, actresses, musicians that do, you know, nostalgia tours. Oh, I want to see Journey one more time. Oh, I want to see the Rolling Stones one more time. Oh, man, if I could have only seen Eddie Van Halen one more time. There's going to be things that you like that people are past their prime. And when somebody says some really horrible shit about those people that you know they're not fans of them, you just want to punch them in the face. So please.
But you have to also realize that there's completely different generations of people that are watching Tyson now.
Yeah.
They didn't know Iron Mike. They weren't there in the 90s watching with their dad and 5 other people a match that lasted 2 minutes with somebody that you don't even remember the name of. Like, Tyson's claim to fame for a lot of us was he did something that was completely unexpected in the boxing world. He tore through people. He just tore through people. This wasn't how boxing was done. He was such a madman and such a powerhouse that, of course, even though for them it's just a highlight clip on YouTube, for us, we remember those moments. We remember talking before the fights. We remember talking about him after the fights. We remember him going to prison. We remember all the controversy around Robin Givens. We remember all the crazy shit with him and Don King. And then the fact that he came out of that all penniless. Like, Tyson, as far as his story goes, is a fantastic story. The man has lived a crazy friggin' life. And it's an amazing story. So for us to see him back in the ring again, it's an amazing full circle. I don't think that people that are just watching his clips now have any idea of how long, because there's something to be said. And don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure, you know, the younger fans can understand where I'm coming from with this, but there's something to be said experiencing things in real time than it is to go back and see all the outro footage, like the extra clips and everything else like that. Just compiling all the information now is a great thing, but experiencing everything as it happens in real time, being there in the 90s, being there in the 2000s when his entire life was becoming like he went from a champion to a prisoner. To a chump, right? Like, literally, you're watching his entire life from when he was a young kid with his coach. Gosh, I forgot the old white guy's name, but you know what I'm saying. Before he went into Don King, like, you literally followed his life. It was more than just, hey, we're watching a superior athlete.
Oh, Customato, yes. Thank you, franchise, right. Customato.
Yes. So I mean, we were watching his life all the way since then, coming up from nothing to becoming this larger-than-life boxer, this athlete, and then watching everything that happened around. So when people are sitting there saying, now, look, I don't get me wrong, I wanted to pay the $50 or the $60 or whatever it was.
You didn't know what you were going to get.
It doesn't mean I don't respect Tyson. It doesn't mean I don't want to go back and watch that. You know what I mean? Like, there's more to it than that. So for people that are disrespecting Tyson now, saying he's boring and what the hell is this and why does anybody want to watch Tyson, it's because they don't understand the full story of it. And you can use that same premise with The Undertaker. There's a lot of newer fans that really don't get the hype behind The Undertaker. They have no clue other than watching old WWE footage, other than watching old WrestleManias, but there's something to be said about watching all those Raws, watching all those SmackDowns, watching since 1997, watching Paul Bearer and Undertaker out there with Jake the Snake Roberts.
Can I give you a good one? I don't mean to interrupt you. I'll give you a good one. Yeah. I'll give you a really good one that even people that don't like me that will say, yeah, DT. Ricky Steamboat. When he had that little bit of Jericho. How old was Steamboat? Someone could check and see how old Steamboat was when he came back and had the match with Jericho and everybody went nuts for it. Tell me what the fuck is different. Tell me what is different. It's not like Tyson is doing a whole season of football or basketball or baseball. All right, Smoking Heights Hydros says that he was around 53. Whose dad says 50? Point is, all right, Steamboat was right around the age of what Tyson is now. Tell me, and how many people back then, to see Steamboat back, oh my God, he still got it, loved it, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, Tyson, he's a bum. What the fuck is there somebody this old fighting for and this and that?
It's the narrative, though. You know what? Steamboat is amazing. Mike Tyson is amazing. But people will fight for their own narrative. If they have no understanding of who Mike Tyson was, and I hate to say it, but, the chat was right. They said it's a you had to be there scenario.
Yeah. One fall and everybody. Thank you. 56. Steamboat was 56. Older by several years than Tyson. I didn't see these goofs in 2009. It's nice to see him, but what is he doing back? Oh, that could have been a spot for somebody else. He's too old. When does he get? Why do these people get? Shut up. You don't like Tyson. You're not interested in the fight. Keep your 2 cents to yourself. Shut up. I went on social media last night, and that's all I saw, and I was like, "Fuck this," and I turned it off. But
you're not having a good week with social media, DT.
I'm fed up with it. I'm really fed up with it. To plug our stuff and to socialize with a few people online, but for the most part, I don't interact with many people anymore. There's so many bitter bitches out there. I mean, I pay attention more and more outside world talking about how garbage social media has become. And even with, the Trump stuff, I'm staying clear away from politics. Jason Lynn, shout out to you, my brother. He sent me a message. I saw it over the weekend. Am I shadow banned? You're not responding to anything I'm writing to you because every word out of your mouth is Trump, politics, Trump. You're going to buy this, Trump. I don't think there's any chance whatsoever of Trump staying in office. Biden is going to be our president. And that's it.
Isn't he already blaming the loss on, Georgia or Alabama?
Trump and millions of his followers. And look, I support him too. But Trump and tens of millions of followers are going to do, unfortunately to Biden, what everybody did to Trump for 4 years. For 4 years, they said that his election was a fraud, that it was Russian interference. It was this, it was a dossier, it was this, it was that, it was this. You had every politician on the left for 4 years say that his win in 2016 was a fraud. So now everybody is doing to Biden, or they're going to do for the next 4 years, they're going to say, oh, it was a rigged election. How could Biden get this many more votes than Obama? How could he get more votes than people that live in certain areas? That's what you're going to hear for 4 years. They're going to convince everybody that Biden's win is just as fraud as what people said Trump's was 4 years ago. And guess what? I don't care. I don't want to hear it anymore. I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy the shows with you. I want to enjoy the Patreon shows, sometimes with Kev, by myself. I want to enjoy my relationship, my parents, my job, making money, paying bills, get married, get laid. That's what I care about. I don't give a shit about politics no more.
It's done. We're
done.
Like, all right, we're done. We've got 4 years.
Yeah, it's like the scene in Goodfellas when Joe Pesci was on the floor bleeding, and that's that.
Right.
That's that. So, all right, so we both agree about the ratings with AEW. People using asterisk, shut up. People knocking Tyson, shut up. People knocking Raw tonight, don't shut up, because Raw tonight sucked. Raw tonight sucked. I mean, Randy Orton has Alexa Bliss in his arms, and it's like he had a dog in his arms. And the owner of the dog, who is the Fiend, he's like, give me my dog back. Give me my dog back. You know, and Randy Orton gives it to him, and then he leaves the ring. And then Randy Orton is laughing and saying, what did he say? I wrote, who's laughing now? Nobody was laughing, so Randy Orton. Because I had
Alexa Bliss licks up the peanut butter? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, that was horrendous. It's not like he like violated her or hit her an RKO. Right. He just held her. I mean, he just held her. And Bray Wyatt is like, give me my property. Give me my property. Yeah. And Randy Orton doesn't drop her. She could take a back bump. Just drop her on the floor. She's that fragile? Or toss her. Or pretend like you're going to toss her. You know what's funny? When I used to work in the deli 20, 25, 30 years ago, we used to do this as a joke. And anyone out there, if you ever work in a deli or a supermarket, do this also. It's a lot of fun. You take a quart of milk. Not the plastic quarts, but the container. You know, the ones that usually say missing on the back and there's missing people. The regular quart, paper container. You take the half a gallon. You can't see the contents. You dump it out or you drink it if you want to drink it. And then what you do is you hold it like it's completely full, and then you throw it at someone. And you'll see them freak out, jump out of the way, this and that, because they think they're catching an open container of milk, and it's empty. And it's funny. But all this was tonight is, Alexa Bliss, talking like who's manipulating who, who's laughing now. I mean, this was a what was funny about that? There's no psychology. Oh, Randy Orton's got her in her arms. Yeah. And Fiend is like, give me her back. Give me her back. Give me her back. It's like a little kid that has a stuffed animal and he's misbehaving, so mommy takes away the stuffed animal. Give me my stuffed animal back. Give me my teddy bear back. Give me my teddy bear back.
It was supposed to be a show of dominance, though.
Oh,
let's cut through the storyline BS and lay out what they were trying. The story that they were trying to convey. What they wanted to convey, DT, was that Bray Wyatt is in control, not Randy Orton.
I want to break something over my head. That's how bad this segment was. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to break it, and then I'm going to regret it later. It was
rough, kind of like Alexa Bliss, rough.
She does her role wonderfully. Alexa Bliss does her role wonderfully. But this was just like Jeff Hardy and Elias was a symphony of destruction. This was a dominance of ridiculousness, of stupidity. There was nothing psychological about it.
Yeah, man.
Why? Because the lights go off?
Because Alexa Bliss isn't as deep and dark as she thinks she is. Bray Wyatt's character is so off-kilter that any kind of spooky I guess you wanted to say aura that the guy has been kind of gone. And the fact that Randy Orton is the one that destroyed Bray Wyatt before and burned down Sister Abigail again is completely overlooked. Like these two, I mean, if you really want to go into it, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt shouldn't be playing games. There shouldn't be an Alexa Bliss involved. It should be, if Randy Orton sees Bray Wyatt, he should kick the living shit out of him. And if Bray Wyatt sees Randy Orton, he should kick the living shit out of him. These guys are supposed to hate each other. Does everybody forget the House of Horrors match? Remember the House of Horrors match? Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton had a lengthy feud back in the day, which established the fact that Randy Orton pretty much killed the Wyatt family at some point. And they're not even bringing that up. It's all about, stop controlling Alexa Bliss. Who cares about Alexa Bliss? Between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss shouldn't even matter.
I'm fearing that Nikki Cross is going to get involved with this. I'm wondering if we're going to see something with Randy Orton and Nikki Cross, as ridiculous as that sounds. This whole show, I mean, some points as we go through it, everyone, and we'll get into your super chats as well, but as we go along, I don't know too many highlights today. I mean, there was one match that I absolutely enjoyed, which we'll get into in a little bit, and we are going to talk about the update with Alberto El Patron. That's going to be very interesting. So we're at the 57-minute mark, everybody. We're going to go 90, right around 90 minutes today. If that's not enough, you are welcome to join us tomorrow on Patreon. It'll be Breakfast Soup Raw. We're going to do off the cuff. So if you join us live, you can interact with us and other people live, and we're going to have a hell of a hilarious show tomorrow night. Don't know if we're going to do A to Z again, but we might do something with numbers this time around. Somebody gave me an idea that I thought about. I said, this could be freaking hilarious. So you're welcome to join us tomorrow night. We're going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern, so nice and early. So you'll have, even if you live overseas, you'll be able to tune in at a rather reasonable time. If you're enjoying this episode, give it a thumbs up. I got to give a special shout out to our friend from South Africa, FT Gagiano, who's tuning in. I think right now, what is it? It's 7 in the morning by you. 7 in the morning.
Dude, it's like crazy hours.
Yeah. He said the Fiend should have popped up on pay-per-views only, beat people up and leave. That's almost like Roman Reigns' thing. If you look at his shirt, show up, win, leave. It's almost.
Bray Wyatt made more sense because there was Bray Wyatt, the puppeteer guy, the guy on the failed Nickelodeon show, and then there was the Fiend. Now, I totally believe what he's saying. I think the Fiend should have been a lot more special than he is. It's kind of like, do you remember Finn Balor?
Right. The demon character should have been only on pay-per-views.
Right. Well, he came out every week as the demon, and people were like, we get it. You're the demon, blah, blah, blah. And then WWE kind of learned their lesson, and then they reeled it back in. And Finn Balor would come out with his little gray trunks or whatever, and he would just have matches as Finn Balor. And then they started bringing out the demon semi-occasionally. And I think that with the Fiend, they should have kind of repeated that same process. Leave the Fiend something special. Like even going back further, DT, the way that Mick Foley was Mankind most of the time.
Once in a while, he come out as Cactus Jack, and you popped.
Right.
Yeah. What didn't help?
Sorry.
No. What didn't help Finn Balor as the demon was his feud with Seth Rollins, because they made Seth Rollins say 850 times, "The Demon King, the Demon King, the Demon King." I mean, it was just over and over. It got to the point that you hated Finn Balor's character name because, like, please, I just don't want to hear the name the Demon King. It's almost like May 19th. Was it May 19th with Kane? Yeah. Whenever you hear May 9th or May 19th, he would snap. Whenever I heard Demon King, I wanted to break a bottle over my head. Who's Dad? Yes, we're going to talk about that match in a moment. But I agree with you, and I agree with FT. Bray Wyatt, do the Firefly Funhouse stuff, be Bray Wyatt, but pay-per-view, that's when The Fiend comes out to play. The Fiend only comes out, it's like Retribution, opposite. Retribution does not come out to play on pay-per-views, they just come out on Raws. So The Fiend should just come out on pay-per-views and not on Raws, the opposite. I absolutely agree with that. It was something else I wanted to say too. I guess we could bring it up now. Oh, I know what I was going to say too. What are the chances of Randy Orton doing the same thing that Seth Rollins did? The Fiend, the Fiend had his house burnt down by Randy Orton. You think Randy Orton shows up at the Firefly Funhouse and burns it down like Seth Rollins did? I mean, is that where we're going with this? That Randy Orton's going to show up at the Funhouse?
It at least makes sense with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Randy Orton clearly likes to burn stuff, so if Randy Orton does it, it makes sense. It's just they really need to up the ante with this because this isn't a brand new feud. My biggest problem with this feud is that they're pretending like they never fought before. They're pretending like Randy Orton didn't destroy who Bray Wyatt used to be.
Right, but the Fiend, him wasn't around back then.
Right,
so
exactly. They're omitting a major part of history between those two guys because Alexa Bliss is now involved. It's lackluster writing is what it is.
Yeah. Symphony of Destruction. Jeff Hardy versus Elias. We've had some Symphony of Destruction matches in the past. I think we had two. The one that we remember most recently was Cesaro and Nakamura versus Elias and Strowman. That's when Strowman slammed, I think, Nakamura on the piano that time and actually pinned him. That was actually a fun match. This was not bad. There was a little bit of corny 24/7 antics. You had R-Truth hiding in the piano. Then you had Drew Gulak running down the ring, and somehow he just gets back body dropped by Jeff Hardy. Elias knocks down, one of the members of the Lucha House Party. But, this match was fun, but there was a spot at the very end that everybody was holding their breath, and I'll be honest with you. You could see when Jeff Hardy climbed the ring post and looked down, you could almost imagine him saying to himself, fuck it. Because what are you going to do? Think about it. Everyone out there, think about it. What do you expect Jeff Hardy to do? He's on the ring post, about to do his swanton. He looks down and he says, oh, shit, nobody moved the ring steps. He didn't move it. Elias didn't move it. Nobody, the referee can't move it. That looks stupid. Did you ever see a referee move the ring steps before? They don't. So Jeff Hardy, for people that don't know, there was another point which was a little corny because technically with wood, it's very, very difficult to get electrocuted from wood unless it's wet and, there's other aspects. But, they tried to make it look like, Elias got electrocuted and the announcers are laughing, which I thought was stupid. Then there was another point where I don't remember what they did, but, Jeff Hardy, I think he hurt his side and the announcers were laughing at that. I'm like, this is not supposed to be funny. But Jeff Hardy lays Elias on the table. And what was ridiculously stupid about it is, first of all, he takes these little guitars that you would buy like midgets, little kids, like these tiny little toy guitars, and he puts like 6 of them on top of Elias. Then he goes to climb the top rope, and instead he goes on the ring post to jump off and do the swanton. And nobody moved the ring steps. So outside the ring, you have the table, Elias on it, and the ring steps right next to the table. Sure enough, Jeff Hardy does the swanton. If you look at it closely, he has to thank the heavens above that Elias was on that table. Since Elias was on that table and he was higher up, that absorbed Jeff Hardy's fall. The back of Jeff Hardy's head hit the ring steps. He 1 or 2 inches, he would have hit the edge of the steps, would have cracked his head open Like you would not have imagined, because all that weight going from the top of the ring, this man escaped. I'm not trying to be a jerk by saying this. If I was WWE, I would either fine them both or suspend them for a week or two for what the carelessness in that. Because, like I said, Jeff Hardy, if Elias wouldn't have been on that table, he would have gone completely through the table and his head would have gotten a full blow on those steps. But since Elias was above the table and he landed on Elias, that momentum, it stopped the momentum of him crashing down. So the back of his head, hit, but not severely. Go back and watch it. It is one of... I love Jeff Hardy, and his career is Hall of Fame, and I absolutely appreciate the fact that he's still doing it. But that is no excuse for him or for Elias not to move those ring steps. And the fact that like I said, it would have been one of the dumbest things we ever seen in our wrestling lifetime if Jeff Hardy would have jumped off back into the ring from the ring post, roll out of the ring, move the ring steps, and then go back in the ring and do it just would have looked horrendous. So he basically just said, fuck it, and did it anyway. And just for that fact, I think WWE should penalize them both. Unacceptable. Thank God he is okay.
But this is what Jeff Hardy's done.
Doesn't
DT,
matter.
This is first crazy spot that we've seen from this guy.
Doesn't matter.
Me and you have even said, what the hell is this guy doing? This is a guy who's gone out there on independent shows and for $40 has jumped off of like big ladders into the middle of audiences. Like this, Jeff Hardy is an adrenaline junkie, because I can't think of any other reason why a guy at his age would still be doing spots like this. At his age, Matt Hardy has relaxed. Guys like AJ Styles have completely changed their style. Like, people usually ground themselves a little bit more, but for whatever reason, Jeff Hardy never has. And he still pushes that envelope, whether it's personal or professional or for whatever reason that he does it. But I really believe that the guy's an adrenaline junkie. And
I say that about Darby Allin a lot.
As being reckless and stupid and potentially lethal or potentially injurious, it's not something that bothers him. And I don't think it'll ever bother him until he finally retires. That
was just an unforced error. That was scary. That was scary. Right. I mean, it was really scary. I know a lot of people out there, because it was something that when he put him on the table and you're watching this, you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, you got to move the ring steps. You got to move the ring steps. And then he rolls back in the ring and, the ring steps are right there. And like, oh my God. And he's right next to the barricade also. So there's nowhere to go. That reminds me a little bit of Rey Fenix in AEW. There was a point early on in COVID, right before a pay-per-view, I think they did like some type of a battle royal, and Rey Fenix, the distance between the ring and the guardrail was like this, and he jumped off and tried to do this insane move, and there was no real room for him to go anywhere, and he injured himself, and he was off that pay. I personally, look, I agree with you, James. Jeff Hardy knows what he's doing, but that is just unacceptable. Nobody wants to see him injured. And honestly, I'm telling you, don't be surprised if you read on some websites, legitimate websites, that WWE reprimanded them both for not removing those ring steps. Because like I said, you just go a couple of inches the other way, and the edge of those steps, you go from the top of that rope.
Do you really think that at WWE, okay, let's say, for example, you're completely right. WWE goes back, they watch the match, they see what happened between him and Elias, they see that spot, and they say, you know what, Jeff, you're suspended for 3 weeks. You're not going to get paid, whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that's going to even matter to somebody like Jeff Hardy. Do you think that Jeff Hardy is above repercussions at this point? I don't think that he would ever change his style.
I don't say change his style. You just that's unacceptable. I think the referee should hold some responsibility also, because the referee should have gotten in Jeff's ear and say the ring steps.
Yeah, but Jeff Hardy is clearly the vet. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about that ring, Jeff Hardy's the veteran.
Yeah. I don't think they'll suspend him. I agree with you, Ben. I think they may fine him.
Oh no,
but,
I wasn't saying. I was just saying, like, worst case scenario, let's say WWE suspends him. I'm not saying that they would actually do that.
I think they'll read the riot act.
Do you think that there's any kind of repercussions that you could give Jeff Hardy to make him stop being Jeff Hardy?
I don't think they want to stop Jeff Hardy from being Jeff Hardy. They just don't want to see, situation like that where, simple move of the ring steps could be the difference of him being paralyzed with a broken neck and a head split open like an egg.
Agree. He doesn't need to do it. You're totally right. He doesn't need to have these crazy spots, but that's who he is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like asking a shark not to be a shark. You can't do it. It's who they are.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy is a guy who's always taken crazy risks, even when it seemed dangerous to himself and other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't injure so many people. So, I mean, I guess he's doing something right. But does he take those risks? Absolutely. I don't know if you can have a Jeff Hardy match where there isn't a moment that you put your fist to your mouth and you go, "Oh, Jesus, dude, don't do that. Please don't. Oh, you're gonna fucking die, stupid." Like, there's so many times you can watch a Jeff Hardy match and just go, that had to hurt. That had to fucking suck.
Yeah.
And he still does them. He does them all the time. And now he's doing them in front of no one, DT.
Yeah. Yeah. We had the setup tonight for Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee versus AJ Styles. The winner taking on Drew McIntyre, TLC. We'll talk about that match in a couple of minutes. First, we got to talk about two Retribution matches. The first one was Slapjack against Ricochet. And I noticed this when Mustafa Ali and Slapjack were cutting their promos before that match happened, and I took the screenshot. I posted on Twitter for a second, but this was from the back. And if you look at it up closely, the one thing, I mean, other than the fact that Slapjack's eyes always look crossed sometimes, it looks like his eyes are crossed. But if you look a little bit closer, what I caught on to right away is if you look at Dominik Dijakovic, he actually finds something awfully attractive there. Look at his eyes and look at his smile. And if you go back and you look at this full, he looks like he's staring down Reckoning real hard. Did you notice that? I mean, he's scoping her out. He's looking at something.
Well, he might not be checking out Mia. I'm just saying, it's 2020.
I don't know. I mean, I said it very, very lighthearted. I don't mean anything perverted behind it. But if you look at him, I mean, you look at that face, I mean, he's just looking downward, almost in the buttocks region, and he's got a smile on his face like, man, I know what I want to have for dinner tonight after this. Look at that look.
How did you even
Yum.
it?
This is like playing Quiplash. He's over there. He's like yum. I noticed it when I was looking at Slapjack. I'm like, he always looks like look at Slapjack's eyes. Tell me that left one you'd sometimes think Shawn Michaels is under the mask. Seriously, his eyes look crossed. But as I was watching it, I'm like, what is Dijakovic looking at? And I did the screenshot and I looked at it up close. I'm like, he's looking at something, unless he likes to eat ants and maybe he saw an ant walking by on the floor and he's like, hey, dinner, I just noticed that, but it is what it is. But, Slapjack has the match with Ricochet. Look, this whole promo of Mustafa Ali saying to Ricochet, like, when are you going to realize? When are you going to realize that you keep making the same mistake? I keep saying to myself, This is the Hurt Business storyline all over again. You know, when they're trying to recruit Cedric or trying to recruit Ricochet, you know, like, when are you going to realize this is Taz with Darby Dumbass or even Will Hobbs? When are you going to realize you need to join? When are you going to realize that, you know, after 2, 3, 4, 5 months, it gets old. And this thing, like, that's the storyline with Ricochet. When are you going to realize you should be part of us? It was god-awful. It was god-awful. I mean, the match was fine, and I'm happy, kind of, that Shane Thorne got a win, and we actually got to hear him cut a promo today, which wasn't bad. But, like I said, I still can't get past Dijakovic. And those eyes, like I said, if you look at one more time before we move on with this, but, what, you know, you look at him closely, he's looking downward. He's looking downward. He's got that smile. He looks like he's looking at something that he likes. And I was like, oh, you know, something's up over here. You know, hey, I'm always observant. I try to be very observant with that stuff. But so they had that match. The other match. And yeah, I don't understand this at all. And who was it? Oh, yeah, Austin Kinkel. Dana is officially mightier than Retribution. Now, for people don't know what this is, for the life of me, I don't understand it. Unless they're trying to go in a different direction where Ali starts punishing members of Retribution for defeats. Or Mia Yim, they are going to take her out of Retribution because maybe they have realized that other than Asuka, and maybe Charlotte's about to return, and they're like, you know what, fuck it. We were going to go with, remember, Mia Yim was planting the seeds to fight Asuka. And maybe if Charlotte's going to come back and they put Charlotte with Asuka, who is Mia Yim going to feud with? I don't know. So what happens, Mia Yim as Reckoning takes on Dana Brooke tonight. Within the first minute or two, Mia Yim's mask falls off. So everybody sees Mia Yim clear as day. And she loses to Dana Brooke. I mean, what was your thought? Because after the match is over, Mia Yim looks absolutely devastated in the ring. And Ali is yelling at her, defeat is not acceptable. And he's reading the riot act to her. And I'm saying to myself, where does this go from here? Because Dana Brooke, you could flex, you could flip upside down, you could fuck Batista, you could do all these things. You know, like, she's trying. And I don't have a problem with Dana Brooke getting a win here and there. But how does this help Mia Yim and her character in Retribution at all? I thought tonight did not make Dana Brooke a step ahead. This just took Mia Yim and big step downward.
No, I totally agree with you there. I think, but maybe behind the scenes, maybe in the direction that they're going, Mia Yim hasn't proven herself, really. I mean, if you really come down to it, while we do recognize what she's done with NXT, as far as Retribution goes, other than that one incident, for the most part, Mia Yim hasn't really established herself as an individual member of Retribution.
And that's a shame, because she's so talented.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is that's when you enter Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke to WWE, if you look at the narrative as a whole, is the perfect foil for Mia Yim to eventually go over on.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a point where Mia Yim and Dana go directly at it in maybe a feud or maybe just a couple of exhibition matches, I'm not sure. But there's going to be a point where Mia Yim has to destroy Dana Brooke in order to prove that she's as valuable as the rest of the team.
Because and by the way, when I said the Batista stuff, that's only because Batista was flirting with her online, and there was all this teasing that he wanted to hit that, So I'm not trying to be this pervert or anything like that. That was what was going on social media. Batista wanted to hit it, and I don't mean in the face, but
no.
I don't.
Maybe a little in the face.
Yeah, well, and yeah, Brandon, you're right. Dana got it easy. This, like I said, I don't get what I saw tonight at all. I don't get what I saw tonight at all. But she lost to Dana Brooke.
Yes. I think it's just they're trying to work through. They're trying to establish me a little bit. So
yeah, they didn't do a good job tonight. It helped Slapjack, but Mia Yim, I don't get it. I'm baffled. Like, I think you're right that she's going to amp it up a notch by just, you know what? She may amp it up a notch by taking out the women's champion. Maybe that's Mia Yim. Maybe that's her, retribution, pun intended. Maybe she's got to go for bigger fish to fry. That the loss tonight was like Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. Now, she's got to come back with a vengeance and cause complete chaos. Maybe that happens. I don't know. So, and Brandon also says WWE just let Jeff Hardy be Jeff Hardy, that the officials are not going to do anything. That's very possible, man. It's very possible. I want people to understand. I'm not trying to say that Jeff Hardy shouldn't be Jeff Hardy. I'm just saying I want Jeff Hardy to be Jeff Hardy for the foreseeable future. And I don't want his career cut abruptly short because he was careless or somebody was careless to simply not move a set of ring steps and he cracks his head open like an egg. That guy lands on the edge of those ring steps. He could break his neck. He could break his spine. That guy could be crippled in a wheelchair as a vegetable. He would be Jeff 924. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't want to see that. You want to enjoy Jeff Hardy for years to come. Right. And little things, it's a great example, perfect example. Matt Hardy taking that dive off that forklift thing or whatever that was that time with the match with Sammy Guevara. All I kept reading that people said that night is, at Matt's age, that's unnecessary. That's not needed. Why? Even Matt's wife said, there's no need to do that. There's no need to be that careless.
But Jeff is in a whole different wheelhouse, though, because people aren't ever going to say that to Jeff DT, because that's the thing that people like about Jeff the most, is that this guy can keep getting older and he's still doing crazy spots that people half his age wouldn't even attempt.
Yeah. Joe Punches, thoughts on Retribution? You guys like food? I don't know, man. It is what it is, man. I mean, even with MVP, even MVP, when they would confront the New Day, and MVP's like, where's all the tag teams? It was off mic, but you see where this is going. With the New Day, they brought up the fact that they beat the Hurt Business 3 times. Hurt Business was unsuccessful in getting the titles 3 times. So what do you do today? You have one member of the Hurt Business take on one member of New Day. Well, almost everybody and their mother figured it out. Oh, so now the Hurt Business will get a win, and maybe next week we'll see. What's his face? We'll probably see Shelton Benjamin take on Kofi and beat Kofi. And then that'll be the reason to have the Hurt Business versus the New Day once again at TLC. And then we'll see what happens. Maybe the Hurt Business do get the titles. Maybe they lose. But you can see that formula a mile away. They want to set up the Hurt Business versus the New Day. You could see also they want to set up Matt Riddle versus Bobby Lashley, if anybody caught that towards the very end. For no reason whatsoever. Jeff Spicoli, and by the way, Mish, did you catch what Riddle was saying to MVP later on in the show?
Wasn't he like swearing?
He was talking about weed and the munchies and grass, mowing the grass. I swear on a stack of Bibles, man, you go back and you watch that segment tonight. Last week, you and I just had a conversation that Riddle reminds me of Jeff Spicoli on weed, stoned.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bud, let's party. And this week, you got literally Jeff Spicoli trying to insinuate hanging out, smoking weed, getting the munchies, having bro burgers and stuff like that. Bro nuts, that's what it was. I honestly thought they were doing Jeff Spicoli this week. I don't think it's Riddle being RVD. RVD, was not. Nah, this is different, man. RVD was not, let's have some Rob Van de Kamps.
Look, I don't think New York is legal yet. But considering how many states are going legal, I think Matt Riddle is just cashing in on a niche market. I think it's very smart for him to be this guy. Maybe not as much Spicoli as we're talking about, but absolutely being the weed guy. There is nothing wrong with that in 2020, especially when you're talking about the younger market. I mean,
but WWE's not going to condone smoking weed to the young crowd.
But they don't have to. They have a guy who talks about it but doesn't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's smart. It's absolutely smart.
It doesn't remind me of RVD at all. I mean, RVD was laid back, dude, this and that, but you didn't have RVD saying, yo, we'll hang out, we'll smoke, we'll have some Van Dam burgers. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Van Dam was different. It was a different time. For Van Dam, for RVD, smoking weed was edgy because at the time that he was doing it, it was illegal everywhere.
And not only that,
Matt Riddle is a part of the counterculture or the culture that is aware of legalized weed and is a part of that. I just don't see it as being a bad thing. If anything, I think it's a really smart move to not only have a guy as talented as Matt Riddle in the ring and working with big matches like with AJ and Keith Lee, but I think it's a really good idea to have somebody like that people can associate with. We can't look at it like for this example alone, DT, we can't look at this as a 40-year-old guy and a 50-year-old guy. We have to look at this like a dude that's in his 20s. That's like, oh, yeah, weed's legal. This is awesome. And here's a guy who's completely about that life. And he's an athlete. And he's in the middle of the ring with other great wrestlers. Like, we can't look at it like we were raised because we were raised with the identity that smoking weed was illegal. Smoking weed was a different kind of crowd. Matt Riddle is that kind of crowd in 2020.
Yeah, RVD came off as laid back. Matt Riddle, and I don't mean this personal on him, RVD came across as laid back. Matt Riddle comes off as brain dead stupid. Yo, I was thinking the other day, I want pizza, I want yogurt. Let me make pizza flavored yogurt. Matt Riddle comes off as stoned. Stone stupid.
I see him as he doesn't strike me as a stupid guy.
No, I don't mean it personal. I'm saying the character comes off as.
No, I know what you're saying. I'm not talking about him personally either. I think his character doesn't come off as a stupid character. I think it comes off as a party character. You know, the stupid Kruger and everybody else in the Bunny, they all tried to have the party characters that failed miserably both times that they put it out there with Lucha House Party, and then before that it was Kruger and stuff like that. Those both failed miserably, sorry. But Riddle is actually the party guy that WWE has wanted for years. Yeah. That's what he strikes me as. He doesn't strike me as the dumb guy. He strikes me as the legitimate party guy.
Yeah. So anyway, earlier I said that, Riddle, later on with the MVP stuff. And then, like I said, if you go back and watch the segment, it was so forced. It was an Acme Insta feud because Riddle had his match with Keith Lee and AJ Styles, which we'll talk about now. The winner becoming the number one contender for Drew's title at TLC. And, AJ Styles wins that match, which you and I thought last week would happen. A lot of you out there thought it would happen as well. And this is just to prolong what we've been saying for a couple of weeks now. It's going to be Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in a feud. They started the storyline tonight, if you notice. But Riddle, when he lost, you know, for some reason MVP comes up to him. Yes, last week MVP almost laughed when Riddle went, "Aw," but they did it again this week, and Riddle even got an "aw." You know, he got a quick one in, but for some reason Matt Riddle just name drops Lashley, and it felt so forced because as soon as you heard him say Lashley, up, there we go. Now it's going to be Lashley versus Riddle. Sure enough, Lashley attacks Riddle, and now we're going to see Lashley have a feud with Riddle for that title. And guess what? I would not be surprised if Riddle wins that belt. No. Would not be surprised. Just quick feedback from a couple of moments ago. Brandon Jones, I think we talked about Randy is not going to show up in the Firefly Funhouse. He doesn't think he's going to show up. Besides, the Firefly Funhouse is entertaining. Yeah, but they may do it right before the pay-per-view. And Seth Rollins burnt the Firefly Funhouse down, and guess what? We got the Firefly Funhouse a week later. So I hope they don't do it again. I hope they don't do it again. We'll see. We'll see. Ken Terminated by DQ said Goldberg's 2 title wins after his prime. Well, you know, the match with The Fiend, you know, that was terrible. That was terrible. And if people remember, that was being serious. Come on. That was all designed. It was all designed for Roman Reigns. That entire situation was set up because anybody, you know, but Goldberg, like, people were so, I remember that. People were so angry that Goldberg beat The Fiend the way he did that if, you know, like Roman Reigns, no matter who they tried to put him up against, the fans would never be behind Roman Reigns completely. And when Goldberg won that title, that was the right person finally that they could have Roman Reigns face and win the title. And then this way, okay, you know, Roman is there full time and Goldberg is not. So we'll get all behind Roman to beat Goldberg, because originally we thought it was going to be The Fiend and Roman. I remember the whole scenario, but then Roman Reigns doesn't compete at Mania because of COVID, and they put Braun Strowman instead. So that whole, and you think about it, what's even worse is they ended up doing a feud with Strowman and The Fiend. They had that swamp match. They could have kept the belt on The Fiend, and they could have had, if Roman was not going to appear, they could have ended up having Strowman versus The Fiend at Mania, and Fiend could have been the champion still. And they could have had Braun win. They could have done so much different, but, you know, I agree, Hydro. Spear versus Spear, but, you know, it was cacas, as Mish would say. It was total cacas. Total cacas. So, I think we are up to date as far as Super Chats go. So, the match, AJ versus Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee, I thought the match was excellent. It really showcased Keith Lee well. It was the highlight of the night. Yeah, honestly, this was the only part of the night that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed everything about this match. I loved towards the latter part, that back and forth that Riddle had with Keith Lee, reversals, kicks, reversals. Keith Lee, there was one point where you had AJ Styles try to pin Keith Lee, and Keith Lee throws him up and he tosses him in the air, and he lands right on top of Matt Riddle and almost pins Matt Riddle. The last couple of minutes of the match, all that back and forth and reversals was beautiful. On the outside of the ring, that was beautiful. Yeah. That exchange on the outside of the ring with, oh my gosh, I keep forgetting his name, but the big dude. It was very well done. It was really well done. Him saving AJ Styles, all of that. Yeah. Matt Riddle and Keith Lee on the outside. Like, it was just a really good exchange. Those three guys put on a surprisingly great match on a show that didn't deserve it. There was a funny exchange in the back with Riddle and AJ Styles. And Riddle's doing his corny stuff, and apparently almost talked to Riddle, and he brought up Skipper, and I think AJ even slapped. You know, there was some funny moments tonight with Riddle, but the last spot of the match really was terrible. If you go back and you watch it, we had AJ, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle having a series of reversals, kicks, counters, punches, everything. And it was wonderful. But there was one point where AJ Styles was, and I don't know if people caught it, was jumping off the side of the ring, the top rope, with the phenomenal forearm onto Matt Riddle. And the camera shot was on Matt Riddle the entire time. And you see Matt Riddle, and he's just standing there almost like for a few seconds. I mean, he's just watching him go. And I thought that was wait, do we? I don't think we lost connection. Hang on a second.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
we're okay.
No, I see something loading. Yeah, but like I said earlier, even with the Q&A from this afternoon, we had horrible rain and winds today. The weather was going to be so bad today that I came home the night before. The last thing you want to do at 7 o'clock at night when you're in a different state is say, you know what, let's pack up now and let's just get out of here now. So, we got a little buffer now, but we're going to start wrapping this up. We're going to speed this up a little bit because we don't want to have connection issues tonight. But, but the thing is, I love the match, but the camera work at the very end focused on Riddle, and you just see him standing. That is what I talk about sometimes with AEW, that some of the really young guys that they signed, they're going to be future stars. But right now, when you have to wait an extra second or two for a move to happen, it becomes really, really glaring, and you can't just write it off like, oh, well, he's young. When you got the Young Bucks facing Top Flight the week before, and I loved the match, but I see these people, not bringing up that they're still very, very young, 19 and 21. They still, there was points where the Young Bucks are literally doing this for an extra second or two, waiting for Top Flight to run across the ring to hit them. And when you see that 2, 3, 4 times in a match, to me, put that on Dark. Put that, maybe 6 months from now. But, you don't reward someone by signing him like, hey, we're going to give you the opening match on Dynamite in front of 800,000 people. I don't think that that's acceptable. And the finish of that match tonight with Riddle, Keith Lee, and AJ was a great match. But to see Riddle for that extra second or two, just like,
yeah.
Just in storyline, you just move out of the way. He's watching him, like set up, jump off.
Yeah, it's a botch. You caught it. I mean, but we're talking about Riddle, still a very young guy, very young to the business.
I blame it on camera work tonight. That's more camera work.
That too. You're right. That's totally something that could have been fixed in the production truck. But he's going to have mistakes, and we can't. I'm not sitting there saying that we have to make excuses for him. It's a mistake that didn't hurt anybody. It's a mistake that didn't put anybody's, body at risk or their livelihood at risk. So, yeah, in this scenario, you're totally right. It should have been the camera truck to hide that, and and then we move on.
Yeah.
But the actual match itself was fantastic.
Yeah. The AJ, you could see TLC already. Drew McIntyre retains, maybe have a little interaction with Omos, and then they blow their load with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre with that feud.
Oh, did you love that little in-ring tete-a-tete with Sheamus?
Well, early in the night,
forever.
Miz and Morrison, they get several segments tonight. Early in the night, cutting their promo, baiting Sheamus. They end up beating up Sheamus with the briefcase.
Right.
Then later on, Miz and Morrison are talking to AJ Styles, help me cash in the briefcase tonight, and AJ Styles agrees he's going to help because he thinks facing Miz at TLC is a lot easier than facing Drew. And that's designed to actually make Drew feel much more invincible. Sure. But, then Miz and Morrison, right before the match, they got a little segment with Charlie Caruso. I mean, I'm a fan of Miz and Morrison. I don't complain much about them. But, man, they got 3 segments tonight, and they got a match. And I know we're jumping back and forth a little bit, but, we're trying to segue into different things. But,
Sure.
The match tonight that they were setting up as the main event was Miz and Morrison versus Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Honestly, we've had a handicap match not too long ago, and the rating was terrible. I don't know how adding Sheamus to that match changes the ratings at all. I almost think at this point, WWE is like, you know what? Whatever the ratings are, they are. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Because like I said, they have featured Drew McIntyre and Miz and Morrison on main events of Raw a few times already, and the ratings have never been good. So they were teasing that match tonight. But before that, we had Lana teaming up with Asuka, another match that I believe is going to happen at TLC, since Nia Jax and Shayna did not defend the belts the last time. They have decided to have Lana and Asuka be like an underdog, tag team that maybe, could possibly pull it off. So they had last week Lana get the upset pin on Nia Jax. Today you have Nia and Shayna, which, if you think about it, didn't make sense, because why would Asuka and Lana get 2 non-title matches 2 weeks in a row? Usually you win the non-title match, the next match is a title opportunity. So you realize, okay, Lana pinned Nia last week. This kind of reminds me of the Riot Squad. Remember when one pinned one, and then we thought that the Riot Squad was going to pin the other? Remember they had the handicap match, the Riot Squad, I think, versus Nia. And then they were going to do the handicap versus Shayna. And I don't remember if something happened with COVID and somebody was out. But this is what it felt like today. All right, Lana pinned Nia last week, so Lana will probably pin Shayna this week, and that's what happened. Shayna almost had the Kirifuda clutch. There was a couple of points, and I thought it was really well done that they tried to knock Asuka out of the ring, and Shayna tries to, choke out Lana, but Lana gets rescued by Asuka, who double knees Shayna, knocks her for a loop, and Lana sees Shayna knocked out and gets the pin. So we got 2 weeks in a row, Asuka and Lana win.
Bring up Mick Foley twice in a night, or 3 times in a night, but do you kind of feel like the Asuka-Lana tag team relationship is very reminiscent of Mick Foley and Mikey Whipwreck? Like, Lana is Mikey Whipwreck. She just can't get a win. She can't do
That's
nothing.
That's not bad.
And Mick Foley does all the work.
That's not bad. Look, people out there, if you weren't a fan of ECW in 94, it's going to be really hard to explain it. But, Mikey Whipwreck was always an underdog. When they put the belt on him in 95, and they had him pin Steve Austin, and they had him, taking on Sandman,
Right.
It was, people really had a hard time believing it. When he teamed up with Cactus Jack, the funny thing about it was when Cactus Jack and Mikey Whipwreck became ECW Tag Team Champions, Cactus loved it. Cactus was having fun, and Mikey Whipwreck had this look of fear on his face, like, I'm going to die. He's going to get killed, because he knew, in storyline, they're not doing that part with Lana, because Lana, you didn't have Mikey Whipwreck like, oh, I'm just living a dream and I'm loving this and everything. Mikey Whipwreck didn't do that. Mikey Whipwreck was just scared shitless.
Right,
he was scared shit. Like, Cactus did mostly everything. So
yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I just, when I saw that earlier tonight, that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like the Mikey Whipwreck, Mick Foley team, and Asuka's carrying the weight. Asuka's carrying the team on her shoulders, and Lana, who shouldn't be winning matches against the Nia, and Lana, who shouldn't be winning matches against an athlete like Shayna, is now going to be the one doing the pinning.
Yeah.
And Asuka's going to be doing the lifting. I thought it was cool. And in a weird way, it kind of makes Lana a little bit more lovable, because she's not supposed to be in these matches. She's not supposed to be good enough to fight these people and win. And she has her track record.
You get it.
Not really being the heavyweight kind of girl.
You get it.
I don't know. It works. If that's where they're referencing this idea for the tag team with Asuka and Lana, please keep going forward with it because that's a winner. That's a home run.
You get it. You get it. In 1994, when Mikey Whipwreck won the belts, even though people thought he was Todd Gordon's favorite boy, little boy, and everything, like not in a sexual way, but the thing is, the storyline made sense. And I see goofs evaluating Lana's current run as if she's like a legitimate wrestler. I'm not saying she's not legitimate. What I'm saying is that WWE understands Lana's limitations and is trying to create a storyline around those limitations. So since everybody really feels that Lana wouldn't have a standing chance against Asuka, would not have a standing chance against Nia, would not have a standing chance against Shayna, then Asuka does a bulk of the work. Lana gets the abrupt pins, and it's like a fairy tale. That's what it is. And people are over-analyzing the Lana stuff. Look, I hate to break it to people out there. If you don't like Lana, okay, I get it if you don't like Lana.
Right.
But the over-bashing of Lana, that's as popular as bell bottoms right now. You know, like if you don't understand the storyline and you don't like it, then talk about something you do. You do like.
Here's the thing, and I understand why people don't like Lana, and I see people responding. They're like, man, you really want to see an Asuka and Lana tag team?
They're not going to win the belts, and if it is, it's a fluke.
Well, even if they do win the belts, it's going to be a fluke. My point is I like to see good storylines. I like to see good and unique and different ideas.
That makes sense.
It's the last team that I can think of that really well, no, I guess there was one other team, but that was bull.
What, Braun Strowman and what was the referee's son's name? Nicholas?
Yeah, right. But that's BS. That's not real. But what I'm saying is, like, if you go before that, the last really good idea where you had somebody that can't wrestle, that's kind of a goof, you know what I mean, is kind of like loved and hated by the fans, but then you put him with Asuka or you put her with Mick Foley, and all of a sudden you have a completely different dynamic. And I'm not saying that Lana's going to light the fucking world on fire, people. She's not. You know, we know what she's great at, and we know what she isn't at. And wrestling is not her big forte, but now you can utilize her weaknesses and turn it into a storyline strength. I'm not saying that this is going to be the best idea in the world, but I'm kind of hoping that they could do something better with her now than having her make out with other dudes while her husband's on a different TV show. I mean, this is probably the best you're going to get out of Lana right now than all the other crap that they were doing. Yeah. So.
And Hydro, we're not comparing Mikey Whipwreck's in-ring repertoire with Lana. We're talking about the storyline. It's a storyline.
I'm not.
It's the storyline.
It's not a slight of Mikey Whipwreck. It's not at all. I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah.
We're just comparing this one storyline. That's all I'm doing, guys.
And it could end with a fairy tale win that she gets a belt. It could end with it falling short. It could end with a heel turn. There's a couple of ways they could do it. But WWE is using Lana. They're accentuating the positives and they're hiding the negatives as much as they can. They're pretty much admitting to everyone, look, Lana doesn't have the wrestling abilities that everybody else that's in that ring. So we're not going to make her seem like she can, beat, some of those people. It's got to be more of a fluke. And that makes sense. It makes sense.
What? You know the cool thing about this, though, too, DT, is it's going to make Asuka look like even more of a badass.
Yeah.
That's the upside of this, because if Asuka's going to be carrying up against, Nia and Shayna and whoever else, and Asuka's going to be the one doing the work, this is really going to, because it's basically going to be a handicap match every week. Yeah. 2 versus Asuka. It's going to make Asuka look even stronger. And I know people are focused on Lana winning right now, but you got to look at the full picture. Asuka's going to look amazing after this storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, we'll talk about this tomorrow, Wednesday, a little bit more, but that old network, G4, We used to be focused around video games. It is coming back next year.
Yep.
Xavier Woods is going to be one of the hosts. WWE is involved with the deal that with Xavier Woods. That's why they're allowing Xavier Woods. That's why they mentioned it on Raw tonight, by the way. So there is WWE involvement. That's why they mentioned that on Raw, but they didn't mention the Mandalorian with Sasha Banks. You know, they did it on social media, but they didn't do it on SmackDown, if you'll remember. The main event tonight, look, it ended like the other bullshit finishes. Miz and Morrison, they lose by DQ. McIntyre and Sheamus, they're getting the upper hand. Towards the end of the match, they tried to take out Sheamus outside the ring and focus only on Drew, but then AJ Styles hits the ring, causing a DQ finish. And what the storyline was that they didn't care about the win or the loss tonight, but all Miz wanted to do tonight is cash in the briefcase. All AJ Styles wanted was for Miz to win the belt so he could face Miz at TLC. So AJ Styles hits, the ring and attacks Drew McIntyre, and it looks like, they're going to lay out McIntyre and maybe Miz could cash in. But then McIntyre regains his composure, and we pretty much just get almost like a stare down between AJ Styles and McIntyre, and almost picks up AJ and carries him off. And it was just a really lackluster finish. I mean, the main event just went through the motions. You know it's going to be AJ and McIntyre at TLC. You know that AJ is being used to add a little bit more to the legacy of Drew McIntyre as champion. And ultimately, this is going to lead to Sheamus turning on Drew, and that feud that you and I have been talking about for many weeks now will flourish. They're just taking the scenic route right now. They got TLC that's in the way of it. Once TLC is out of the way, then you'll see Royal Rumble time, and that's when you'll see Drew and Sheamus. And then we got to start focusing on Royal Rumble to see who ends up winning that, which I think a lot of people right now think Big E is the favorite as far as that goes. But Joe punches. He apologized about the food comment. Look, what it comes down to, Joe, and I'll be honest with you, and I've said this before, I know you mean as far as food and donuts, the catering area for Retribution. It's all good. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the members of Retribution. Mish and myself believe Dijakovic, Dio Madden, the people behind the masks are very talented and have the capabilities of a good future. Dijakovic is uber talented. Mia Yim is extremely talented. Dio Madden has, prospects of being a decent star down the line. So the gimmick is kind of crappy, but we want to see these people succeed because everybody behind that mask has potential. So I don't see them as catering people. The storyline has been pretty shitty. But, as far as them being catering people, I disagree with that. They're being misused by WWE. I think it's pretty obvious. Putting Ali as the leader has not been very believable. Sooner or later, you're going to have members of Retribution walk out on Ali. You're going to see that storyline without a doubt. They kind of teased tonight some dissension between Cedric Alexander and what's-his-face, Shelton Benjamin. When Cedric won, he was...
that comment that he made wasn't about the catering. It was about the Patreon show that me and you
I thought he was talking about... Oh, well...
When we were talking about the food, the A to Z episode.
Yeah, but, a lot of people feel like Retribution belongs in catering and stuff like that, but I get it. Look, let's be honest. We want the people behind the masks to do well. But the characters, I don't know what tonight did for me. To me, it did nothing but hurt her. But
I think it's a setup. I think that's all it is. You can't look too deep into it. This isn't going to be a one and done. We're going to revisit this, and they're not going to just let Mia get the crap kicked out of her by Dana week to week. There's going to be something that happens with Mia in order to establish herself as a valuable member of the group. and also establish herself as a threat, not to WWE or not to Dana, but to the other women on the roster. She needs to be introduced properly to the women's roster. This Dana thing, this is going to be what introduces her. I think there's going to be comeuppance from Mia Yim, and it's going to be Mia Yim kicking the crap out of Dana to the point where it's excessive, because that's what retribution is supposed to be, right? They're supposed to be excessive and without rules. Well, Mia Yim is going to take that out of Dana.
Yeah. We'll see.
Maybe they'll even take Dana off of TV for a few weeks. And then from there, you take Mia Yim and you establish her as the female force for retribution. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if it happens. So before we go, everyone, we want to close out just talking very quickly about Alberto El Patron. If people remember, we discussed in detail what the charges were several months ago. People were trying to portray that he could be facing life in prison, and that was more for clickbait. We went down the line and explained realistically what he was looking at. But Mish and I also reminded everyone that, this was a relationship. And people may remember that sometimes when a relationship goes south, you have people accusing people of doing things that they did not do. And yes, in this country, females are taken very seriously when they're accusing a male of being a victim of violence. And people may remember that episode I talked about how my ex-wife, before I got my marriage annulled, we broke up, and, I was trying to save everything. And people may remember the story I told that, my ex's mother told her, just call the cops, tell him that he threatened to hurt you, and they'll put an order of protection, and that's it. He'll never bother you again. And sure enough, she did that. Thank God she worked for a company where all the calls were recorded, because they found out later on that I never made any threats. She called the cops and said I threatened to kill her while she was at her job. They pulled the call, and they heard the call, and I was just like, please talk to me. And I never threatened at all. Never did that. To me, no pussy is worth getting to jail over. And I felt that way my entire life. But anyway, so people may remember when I brought that up. So now we find out that all of the charges against Alberto El Patron have been dropped. That now what's starting to come out that she fabricated everything. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm not going to go on a bashing brigade, because I don't think Alberto El Patron is this altar boy. I think this guy was probably just as much of a gaslighter as she was. But when I saw this on Instagram, now I know a lot of you out there don't speak Spanish, but this is his ex-girlfriend, and she goes on Instagram and posts like what you would see on Jason Solomonster's page when somebody is desperately trying to stand out with everyone. Let me draw a photo and put the letters in big block letters, and it's her basically apologizing to Alberto El Patron's family for her mistakes. Right. A one-sentence line. My honest opinion, this woman would have been better suited to not even post this, because after what this guy was accused of, and people have gone to jail who were innocent, and I have no sympathy against Alberto El Patron, because we have heard a lot of the stories behind the scenes of some of the things he's been accused of doing for other women in the past, and it's disgusting. So, but my point is, when you write a one-sentence apology, like, oh, sorry, everybody, honestly, I would be livid against this woman right now. What the hell is that I'm looking at over here? I apologize to the family. Oh, sorry. What do you do in a case like this?
Well, I mean, the first thing that you do is, you see the repercussions that are going to be handed out because of this. Like, I don't think she's going to get in any trouble for this, because that's just not how it works anymore. If anything, there's a lot of people that are saying, what were some of the comments I was reading? I was reading stuff like, this was a woman who went back to the asshole who beats her and rapes her, and it's part of the cycle where they are not fighting and in love. This is why domestic violence is bad. I feel bad.
But that's not what happened here.
I know, but this is the narrative that people are taking from this. They're thinking that she is brainwashed, that all of this actually did happen, and she's in part of a domestic abuse cycle, which, to be fair, is a real thing. It's happened before. We've seen it. We've heard stories about it. But this doesn't feel like it's that kind of a scenario. The guy was already in jail. The guy was already potentially facing a lot of time in prison. If this was completely legitimate, why would she apologize? Why would she apologize and drop all the charges? Now, I know that Del Rio hasn't faced any state yet. He hasn't faced any state repercussions yet. But I know that his camp was even saying stuff like, oh, we feel confident that by the end of the year, all the charges will be dropped, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah. This just makes her look terrible. It's like a meme. Whatever you call those things, it's like you write a one-sentence thing and blah. Send the family, if you're going to do that, send them a private card or an apology private. You put that on social media like, oops, sorry.
Okay. If you're taking a look at her social media, I would sit there and say this is the kind of mannerism and behavior of somebody that wanted attention. And unfortunately, even though she did have a relationship with Alberto El Patron, she utilized this in a horrible way. And I don't know what the future holds, not only for her, but for him as well. Because now the problem is like I was just reading,
the damage is done. This is like Joey. Is like Joey Ryan times a million.
This is like Enzo. The damage is done. Enzo didn't rape that girl, but forever people are always going to associate him with that stupid girl that lied. Alberto El Patron is literally in the exact same position. In a way, I should say, maybe his WWE job isn't on the line because he didn't have WWE anymore, but his future, his wrestling career might be on the line. Because, we're not talking about speaking out or anything like that, but this is a case of a woman that used
the legal system.
Yeah, it's the case of a woman getting revenge on someone and I don't even know their relationship. I don't know the depth of their relationship, because here's the real question to ask. Here's the real fucking question. Why did she do it? If this is all made up and this is all completely 100% bullshit, why did she do it?
You know what it sounds like?
Money? Was it for clout? Was it for attention? Why the hell did you do this?
It sounds like a game of one-up. He probably mentally and maybe physically abused her a little bit, and maybe the relationship ended terrible. And she decided, okay, I'm going to call the cops and claim that he raped me and this and that. I'll tell you this much. The one thing...
And let me say this too. Real quick, I'm not absolving this guy. Like, no. I'm not on a personal level. I'm not absolving everything that he's done in the past. But when you capitalize on it with this major case that could have potentially put him away for decades, that could have literally put him away for a long time, and then just go, sorry.
Yeah. It was
a meme, y'all. It was a meme.
the weird thing that stuck out to me all this time was the accusation about her son. I don't know how old her son was. Might have been 7 or 3, whatever it was. But she claimed that this guy beat her up, threatened to kill her, choked her, shoved toys in her, raped her.
Yeah.
But then when it came to her son, she says, and he threatened to leave my son on the road. Talk about one extreme to the other. Like, I'm putting a gun to your head, I'm beating you up, I'm slicing your ass up, and I'm also threatening to put your cat in the yard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if she would have said, like, he threatened to kill my son or threatened to do that, like, it was just completely off. And you know why I think it was off in hindsight? Because the cops probably interviewed the son. Maybe interviewed the son. And if he, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so
I don't know, man.
So your position is you think that maybe some information came out and it didn't match up with her story, and that's why she dropped it?
Think, you know, I've known people, not to this extent, but I know people over the years who are so perfect for each other. Like, they're both abusers, like they're both nasty, they're both like, you know, they'll you know, like get each other in jail, but at the end of the day they still love each other, and this is that, like, there is some really extreme. I mean, I'm not going to speculate what he did and didn't do, and I'm not going to speculate what she did and didn't do either, but all I know is that she posted a 1-sentence statement. And this is not me retyping it. This is exactly what she posted on social media to the family. Right. Oh, sorry, everybody. Absolutely. I mean, after what the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars this guy spent, and all those months of thinking, and he might end up in jail for 10, 20 years. Oh, sorry, everybody. I think there's screws loose on both sides, but the bottom line is, everybody, Smoking Hydro says him and his wife are like that. I don't think any of you out there are the extremists.
No, man, you guys ain't like it. Come on.
Yeah, this is just weird. This is just a weird deal, man. I mean, I could picture this being
if you're in a relationship where the cycle of abuse can end up with you doing 20 years in the fucking joint, you need to get the fuck out of that relationship, bud.
Yeah. I mean, some people have some really physical relationships, and there's almost to the level of obsession. And when somebody, you know, feels that they got extremely burned, oh, okay, motherfucker, I'll show you. And you call the cops. Right. And, you know, I'm not saying that she did this, but you could, oh, look, I got a mark on my face. You know, it's... Right. The fact that everything was just tossed and not negotiated down, something had to come out. And to write a public apology, what are you apologizing for? If you were the victim and there's just no proof, then you stay the victim. Look, I'm not happy that they dropped the charges. You know, I was a victim on this, but, you know, I'm forced to move on, and that's it. When you actually write a 1 sentence like, sorry, everybody, that is just weird. Weird.
It's the day and age we live in, man. I mean, I don't want to bring up another story, but I think there was a popular YouTuber, one of those Twitch streamers, female, who was in this relationship with a guy who didn't do anything with her. Like, they lived in a house together and everything else like that. And they would do things like they would cuddle together and watch shows and everything else like that. And he didn't do anything, right? He did nothing. And social media backlashed against this guy who was going after her because he didn't do anything with her. He didn't do anything. And they were going after him and ripping him a new asshole because he didn't do anything. It's a weird time, DT. This world, mob justice doesn't always make sense, bud. Yeah. And this is one of those scenarios where you have somebody of an immature mind, you know, most likely has ulterior motives, which we don't know yet. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe even Del Rio knows the truth and he'll say something. I don't know. We don't know. But she has ulterior motives for a fact, because that's why she would come out and apologize.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
Listen, everybody, before we go, one last thing that we wanted to shout out, because it's a shame that nobody's talking about it. Nobody. Jimmy Rave, okay? He's only 38 years old, still alive, okay? Jimmy Rave had almost a 20-year career in wrestling. I actually saw him wrestle in 2003. CZW, he took on AJ Styles and someone else. I can't remember the other person. It was a three-way match. It was right after XPW invaded Philly. Jimmy Rave was in Ring of Honor.
Aries?
Huh? No, it wasn't Austin Aries. I would have remembered. It was against AJ Styles and someone else in a three-way. It was in 2003. But Jimmy Rave has wrestled everybody from Bryan Danielson, was in TNA for many, many years, was part of the Rock and Rave, with Lance Archer, who's in AEW right now. Jimmy Rave, if you go and you look at his match history, he has wrestled every top guy that has come across the indies. Maybe not Roman Reigns and stuff like that, but from Bryan Danielson to Sami Zayn to low-key Homicide, he was in Japan. You could even go Anthony Green, August Gray. He has faced everybody. He had to abruptly retire. And the reason why he retired is because he got a bad infection in his left arm, and he did not get it treated right away. And the infection got so bad that the doctors had to amputate his arm from the elbow down. Jimmy Rave no longer has an arm. He had to obviously retire because of it. And this is a guy, you go look at his resume, as far as indie wrestling goes, could possibly have a Hall of Fame career. 38 years old, been wrestling almost 20 years, and has wrestled all the greats. And that's how his career abruptly ended, and almost no one is talking about it. I think that is so fucking disgusting. It's what I've been saying.
Okay. Let me clarify something, and obviously this comes from people that I talk to. I think there's something behind this amputation, which is the reason why people aren't talking about it. And I don't know.
No, it's just the fact that his career is abruptly ended and he's got an amputation. No, I
understand that. Right.
You celebrate his career. You don't have to focus on where the arm was cut off. You focus on the fact that he had
It's not about where the arm was cut off. It's about the reason why the arm was cut off.
Doesn't matter.
Look, I'm not going to say anything right now, and people can dig themselves and find out for themselves. But we're not talking about an altruistic operation. This wasn't an operation because of just a simple infection.
Right. It was much more complicated.
This was an infection caused by
abuse.
Perhaps
alleged abuse.
Yeah, abuse.
Yeah. I agree. I'm just saying that, the fact that your career is not only cut abruptly short, but they literally have to cut half your arm off. No matter what the reason is. The only scenario
I thought of, did you ever watch that movie Requiem for a Dream?
No.
Where the guy literally got his arms cut off because he did so much drugs in the veins and stuff like that. Like, that is kind of the imagery that I have that poor Jimmy Rave had to go through to get his arm cut off. Like, it's crazy. But nobody knows the reason why, or at least it's not public or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just remember, I have no clue on this one.
Yeah.
I have no clue why it's happening.
Who's Down and Others? Meltzer covered it. A couple of people covered it. But 99% of the podcasters and 99% of all the other websites give a flying fuck about it. And that's terrible. Yeah. The only time I wouldn't have sympathy is if we heard he groped a kid and somebody cut his arm off for doing that. Then I would be like, good. But, if he had an addiction, if it was just an infection, whatever it is, the bottom line is, like I said, I invite anyone out there, do a Google search and look at his match history from around 2003, maybe even 2001. Right. I think he started his career in 2001 to 2019. I mean, that's 18 years, and he fought...
He's had a full career. I mean,
yeah, he's fought the top of the top, and to have his career cut abruptly short, I'm just blown away at almost no attention to it. Almost none. So,
like I said, I think it's because of the circumstances.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. You're totally right. I mean, people should celebrate the guy's career, and like you said, he wrestled some of the greats. But the problem is that there's such a mystery surrounding why everything happened with the infection. And I think, and I'm not saying all, But I would imagine that there's a lot of people that don't even want to bring it up.
Most people just post a generic 2-sentence and move on. Who really is going to investigate and wait for the answer?
True.
You know. And Sam, that wrestler Cameron Wellington that died from COVID on Thursday, I'm trying to get information on that still. From what I got so far, that I think he was 19 years old and just barely started wrestling. I'm not saying that he should not be acknowledged, but I'm trying to get information on the guy, and I haven't found anything. Plus, I was on vacation for 5 days, but that's terrible at 19 to die from COVID or anything.
That's so damn young too. Yeah.
It is. It really is. But, I just wanted to show a little bit of, respect to Jimmy Rave, regardless of the circumstances. If we find out that it was from drug abuse or whatever it is, still, I don't think someone deserves to have their arm amputated. And even if it was for drug abuse, that's a reason why somebody wouldn't cover it on a news website. It doesn't make sense to me.
Not saying it's right.
Yeah, no, I know. It is what it is. So, Psycho says his debut is 1999. So, about a 20-year career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He started wrestling at like 19 years old, 19 years old, because he's not even 40 yet. Just put all this stuff aside. Just imagine living the rest of your life having to use a prosthetic device. That's I feel bad for him. I really do. So, but and his stuff in TNA. A lot of you probably know his stuff in TNA more than anything else. But anyway, everyone, we're going to get out of here. We covered more than what we were expected to. If you want to join us Tuesday night, we'll be up on Patreon. Go to the Discord channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be breakfast soup off the cuff. And we'll have a lot of fun, as always. And I'll be back here Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Mish will be back on Wrestling Soup Thursday night. What time does it start Thursday?
7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, I wanted to double check because I know with the holiday last week, the day and time was a little bit off. So
last week we did it on Wednesday, and then I uploaded it on Saturday night. And I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people hit me up. If you've been listening to Wrestling Soup and you haven't had your feed update in a minute, like Podcast Addict or iTunes, Libsyn finally went through and fixed all that. So you should have about 6 or 7 episodes just pop up out of the blue. So thank you very much for supporting us. I'm really sorry about all the incidents. It's finally gotten where we're at the point where everything is starting to settle down and actually get fixed. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the month, obviously next month, and getting a lot of this stuff back in track to where we were and doing a lot better. So
sounds good. And everyone, don't forget patreon.com/wrestling soup. We got both have patrons, and we both give
.com/Don Tony D.
Yeah, just Don Tony, no D at the end.
Oh, Don Tony.
It's patreon.com/Don Tony. Like I tell everyone, you got $10 a month. Put 5 on us. Put 5 on Soup. You get Patreon exclusive shows every week. Everything that we do outside of Patreon is ad free. You get that as well, and we do contests for pay-per-views, so you get a ton. I honestly feel this way. Name me one Patreon page that gives you more. There is none. I see, without naming any Patreon pages, I see people posting 2 to 3 times a month. We post 2 to 3 times a week. And even people tell us to this day, you're giving too much. You're giving too much. You're giving too much. You're giving too much. We've gotten into a nice little, groove. So if you want to go check it out, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, you catch me Wednesday, catch Mish Thursday, catch me Friday, and we'll go back to game night this Saturday. So, Mitch, pleasure as always, Mish. I will talk to you 8 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll have fun.
Much love.
Much love, my friend. Take care.
See you guys.
All right. So everyone, I hate when he does that. He looks like he's looking at, he looks like Dijakovic right now. He's looking down at my pee-pee. Look at that. No. We're going to have to put this instead. That's better. That's better. I keep this bit. No, I'm only kidding. Listen, everybody, don't forget, earlier today, I did the Q&A that I promised. I know it was a week late, but, I originally wanted to do it before I went away. Then, with Thanksgiving being a little bit screwy and the stuff going on with my dad, that guy that got a little bit caught in the way. So I said I would do it right after Thanksgiving, and I did. So it's up there if you want to go check it out. Also, there is a clip where you could leave questions for the next one I do, which right now it looks like it'll be on December 14th. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And, post a comment. I'm always interacting with a lot of you in the comment section. Let us know what you thought about Raw tonight. Did you agree or disagree with anything that we talked about? Speak up. If you have any opinions on the show, anything you'd like to see added, taken away, tweaked, by all means, this channel is ours. And shout out to everybody who supports us. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. This way you're alerted, when new clips are put out. And that's pretty much it. So everyone, have a great night. Happy holidays. Stay safe, as I've been saying. And, enjoy yourself. Don't let COVID, don't let social media, don't let anybody out there drag you down. Because it's very easy to get caught into that rut. Misery loves company, and, just enjoy yourself. Whatever makes you happy, that's what you focus on. With the COVID stuff, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And, I know not all of you out there are going to get the vaccine right away, but a lot of people will. And the more people that do get the vaccine, the quicker this crap will be out of here. So hopefully in the next month or two, we'll have some significant changes and we could start going back to life as it was before. And then you'll realize all those rejects that said that WWE will never return to house shows. Trust me, within the next month, you're going to hear reports of Stephanie and others talking about, trying to figure out how they could return to house shows. That was just clickbait from people. That was the dumbest thing that I heard all year. WWE will never return to house shows. If that even was true, remotely true, you would have saw the stock take a major hit because of that. They're an entertainment company and they travel 80, 100 shows a year, and they're never gonna do it again. And people actually bought into that crap. That is going to be the dumbest news article of the year. And you realize how many people reported that. It's embarrassing. So everyone, my work is not done. I have to edit, put everything online tonight. Thank God we didn't have too much as far as internet issues, but I appreciate the support, everyone. As Psycho 187 is saying right now, like, subscribe, support the channel, because we're just getting bigger and better. Later this week, Mish and I'm a little excited. I'm not kidding, because Mish said to me before we went live, he's like, I got a couple of great ideas for Patreon in 2021 and for the channel. And we're going to talk later this week and have a little summit and try to figure out what we're going to do to take everything to the next level. So, your support is definitely going to help us grow, and we thank you very much. And Mish is still tuning in, so much love to you, my friend. I hope his Thanksgiving was well. I didn't even ask him how his Thanksgiving was. I kind of feel bad, but all right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. If those on audio only, or even that caught video that are looking to download tonight's episode, right now it's 1:31. So much of getting a good night's sleep tonight. Everything will be online for everybody within the next 15 to 30 minutes. So, all right, everybody, good night, be well, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao, everybody.